Yeah, good evening, friends, and I welcome you all this 47th Sky High Symposium, which is organized under the Women and Young Members Excellence Committee. Very happy to inform that we have an excellent speaker today, CA Meera Joyshir. She'll be taking on income tax provisions and NRI, what should know about. And we have Kinjal Shah. She'll be taking the most important attire. I think two different topic, one technical, one non-technical, but very important, I think. And that's the initiative this committee has been taking for last, I think, almost a year. Every week we have a program, and I welcome the chairperson, Preeti Savla. She is here, the chairperson of Women and Young Members Excellence Committee, and also the chairperson of the SRSB Committee of ICI. We also have with us CA Dr. Sanjeev Singhal, who's the chairman of Auditing and Accounting, Auditing and Assurance Standard Board, and also the chairman of the PR committee of ICI. So, welcome, Sanjeev Bhai, for this very important program. Again, like each week, we have this program. So, again, this week we have this very important topic on income tax provisions for NRI and the most important retire. So also we have our moderators today. So we have Priyanka Purohit, Nikita Tejwani, Prachi Ranade, Yamni Gurjar. Welcome all of you today for this webinar, and I'm sure the participants would really be benefited with their presence. And of course, not taking much time, I request the chairperson Preeti Savla to share her words of wisdom.
So let me thank you, Abhayji, very much for all your support for Women and Young Members Excellence Committee, and happy to see you. We all are here at ICI Delhi, Indraprastha Marg, and we have with us CA Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singhal. Not only is chairing two committees, but he is also the founder chairman of Sustainability Reporting Standard Board. So I request him to please address this webinar.
Thank you, Pratibhen. Thank you. This is a unique initiative, and this is the 47th, this program. So that speaks voluminous about the opportunities which are being given to the women and the young member, and two very, very competent and able council members leading this committee. C. Preeti Savlaji, who's also the chair of SRSB, and Abhay Chajarji. So I've seen them. It's almost now 1.5 years of working together. This will bring to the light the new talent which our profession has. And if I talk about the young member, if you have to see the last 5 years, maybe we would have added about 100,000 chartered accountants in the last 5 years, which means almost 1/3 of our chartered accountants are young members, even if I have to take a criteria of 5 years. And if you have to add the women members, so maybe this represents about 40-45%. And this committee is focusing on the excellence. And what better way than developing speakers, moderators, and introducing the new topics. And a combination of a technical and non-technical topic is a fantastic idea. And I'm sure because as Abhay also mentioned, the most important attire, it is so important to present yourself well. And at the same time, to be technically equipped is very, very important. That's extremely important. So I compliment the committee for taking up such initiative. And I'm sure that these initiatives will go a long way in improving, in sharpening the technical as well as the general management and communication skills of our members. Thank you, Pratibhen, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev bhai. And all my, both the very dignified Central Council members and the speakers, Meera and Kinjal, and all my moderators and all beautiful, intelligent women participants. It is our endeavor to serve the best to the members, and through this committee, women members and young members. So this is 47th, and very soon we are reaching to Golden Jubilee, and definitely we will plan something extraordinary on 50th Sky High Symposium. I request Shanu, secretary, who is working hard along with her team, Ruchi, Jaya, to bring out these programs to all of you, to cater all of you by knowledge. So, friends, please block your time every Wednesday, 4 to 6, Sky High Symposium. And we also request you to please be part of this symposium, either through speaker or moderator. Also bring some new ideas. We have thought of a lot of new things during this current year, 23-24 ICI year, as we are coming, as we are starting 75th year of ICAI. So let us celebrate our membership, our ICAI, and we will share the knowledge, and we want to ensure and we will support all of you to reach all of you so that you reach to the greatest height of your career. With these words, we open this session, and once again compliment to all the participants, moderators, and speakers. And I request coordinator to take this session further. Thank you so much.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Namaste. I am CA Priyanka Purohit. I qualified in December 21 attempt, and I'm an associate member of IPL. So I'm very delighted to be here, as this is my first time as a coordinator. I'm honored to introduce our esteemed guest speaker for the very first session, that is direct taxation, income tax provision for an NRI, which the speaker for the session will be CA Meera Joishar ma'am. She qualified CA in 2002 and is backed by a diversified experience of more than 2 decades, where she handled different clients like the NPCI, New India Assurance, several banks, to name a few. Being associated with a renowned CA firm, namely RC Jain and Associate, for more than a decade, she has become a face of the firm. Her never giving up spirit can be understood by the fact that even during 4 years long stay at United Kingdom, where the local laws didn't allow her to pursue her chartered accountancy career, she kept her confidence high by her constant perseverance and zeal to learn new things by upgrading and updating herself. Her areas of specialization are statutory assurance and risk advisory, international taxation and cross-border advisory, and structural planning. Recently, she has contributed as a reviewer to ICI publication on beneficial state policies for women welfare. She has also conducted various offline and online sessions on direct taxation and other subjects on platforms like BCAF, WIRC branches, including WIRC Vikasa. She has also conducted a live webcast called Saksham on emerging professional for women chartered accountants. She has also held position as a panelist on platform like Predna, a woman conference at WIRC. She is also a frequent faculty for training insurance staff on statutory audit and GST implication at National Insurance Academy, Pune. So today, during the webinar, CA Meera Joishar ma'am will be sharing her insights and perspective on income tax provision subject to NRI. Without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to CA Meera Joishar ma'am. Ma'am, thank you for joining us today and sharing your expertise. We are excited to hear your insights on this matter. Over to you, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you, Sanjeev sir, Preeti ma'am, and Abhay sir for giving us this opportunity, this platform. I have special mention to Ruchi ma'am, Shanu ma'am, and Jaya ma'am, who've been doing this for last 47 weeks, and they are doing a fabulous job. I'm seeing their work quite closely, so I really applaud them for all the efforts they are putting in. And let us directly start with today's session. I'll give a disclaimer in the beginning. International taxation or NRI taxation or FEMA, whatever we talk about, they are such huge subjects in itself that you need 15 days or 1 month course to actually understand what it is all about. For the next 45 to 50 minutes approximately, if I am given for this session, what I can do is only touch upon certain very common aspects which we or our near dear relatives or our near dear clients who are NRIs really come across and they need guidance on this. We would be planning and we'll try our best to hold a proper series which can give us a proper in-depth section by section, rule by rule guidance on these aspects. But in the next 45 minutes, I am not sure how much justice I will be able to do this to this topic. But I will try to cover areas which, as a common layman, you should know. This is generally why we've planned this kind of session, is because each one of us does not have a full-fledged NRI practice or a FEMA practice, but every one of us has NRI clients. We have our family members who are becoming NRIs. Our children are going abroad. So there are certain common aspects we all should know. And that is why this 45 minutes of investment. I'll share my screen. As the topic itself says, income tax provisions which an NRI should know. We are not completely dealing about the entire NRI taxation or international taxation. What we shall be covering in today's section is first the taxation for the NRI based on their residence rules, planning of the movement in and out of India, some common investments that majority of us do in India, the renting and sale of properties, share and other security dealings, etc. Something related to the LRS, that is the liberalized remittance scheme, concept of DTAA and relief of double taxes paid in different countries, and a few very common FAQs which I could list down. We will welcome questions and try to address as much as possible today, or else you all can post me your questions on WhatsApp as well as email, and I'll try to get back to those as soon as possible. Now, if we come to residence, the definition of residence, I will not, and very frankly, I will not read the entire section or dissect every single alphabet or phrase therein, but major differences I'll point out. Now, coming to the rule, the definition of residence under FEMA and that under income tax, there are some major differences. We, as a layman, generally don't know that. So for us, NRI means anyone who's going abroad is an NRI. But the provisions of FEMA are applicable to NRIs as per the FEMA definition, the income tax provisions as per the income tax provisions. To point out a few differences, the financial year concept, that is 1st April to 31st March, there is no such concept under FEMA. But we follow the same in income tax, and as a result, consequently, we follow the same year under FEMA also. Income tax requires physical presence of 182 days or whatever number of days we are talking about. Then, however, when it comes to FEMA, it talks about 183 days. There is a difference of that 1 day between income tax and FEMA. Income tax considers the physical presence as against FEMA, which is more, I would say, it considers your intent of going out or intent of coming to India. If I put it across as an example, suppose I am going abroad to take up an employment. I know that the employment is going on for next 2 years, 4 years, or there is no specific term when I'll be returning. It is an unended, undefined end. In such a case, for FEMA, you become an NRI on the very first day when you're leaving India. But as against income tax, you become an NRI when you are actually outside India for that 182 days and the rules which we come across. So when I'm talking of FEMA, especially secondly, that in case of FEMA, it talks about previous year. For example, if today I need to check whether I am a resident or a non-resident, I will check whether in financial year 22-23, I was a resident or a non-resident under the FEMA rules. Why is this difference as against income taxes? In income tax, what will today, if I need to say whether I'm a resident or non-resident, I need to check whether I will become a non-resident or I am a resident from 1st April 23 to 31st March 24. Now, for FEMA regulations, where it blocks me for investment, where it gives me certain restrictions with regards to, I would say, carrying cash or the taxations or whatever. It happens today. If I am restricted for an investment, it is today. How can I determine after 1 year whether I was supposed to do the investment on 5th April 2023? So that is the basic logic. While under FEMA, if I am talking, it always talks about whether I was a non-resident in 22-23. If yes, I'm a non-resident today. If I did not suffice those rules last year, then coming to today, I need to check whether my intent, if I have gone out on 1st April 2023, and I am sure I'm going to be there only for 15 days. I'll come back. I might again go in July, but that is undecided. Presently, I am sure I'm going to come back in 15 days. So later on in income tax, I might be a non-resident or a resident, but under FEMA today, I am not a non-resident. I am a pure resident. So all resident-related rules apply to me. So that is basically when I'm talking about the most important. FEMA is purpose-driven, whereas IT is purely on the physical presence. And why all this is important? Why it is important to know where I am residing and why all this? Residence more than 182 days if I am in India. That is more than and equal to 182 days. If I am in India, it is purely I am a resident. Right? If I am in India for less than 182 days, there are a list of other checks that I need to perform. But if I need to go to two extreme ends, I would say if I am in India for less than 60 days, then I would be a non-resident for sure, without applying any other. And if I am in India for 182 days or more, without applying any other conditions, I am surely a resident. So the entire game or the plan runs between these 60 to 182 days. Suppose I am in India for less than 182 days, but more than 60 days in the current year and more than 365 days or more than 365 days in the preceding 4 financial years. That is, in the financial year 23-24, in all, I remain a non-resident or I am outside India for say 80 days, but I was a resident last year. I have just moved out in the current financial year. In such a case, I still need to be a resident. I will not be a non-resident. I will need to be in India for less than 60 days in such a case to be defined as a complete non-resident. So more than 60 days and more than 365 days in any of the previous 4 financial years taken together. That is 365 into 4. That is somewhere around 2,600 days. 365 into 4, 1,200, 13 to 1,400 days are totally we talk. Out of those 1,400 days, if I am in India, even for 365 days, I will still be counted as resident. Right? And the second one. However, income, and there is another condition which has come in last few years, which talks about if my income in India is more than 15 lakhs, then that 60 days is replaced with 120 days. That is, in case I am in India for more than 120 days and 365 days in the previous year, I still remain a resident. And if I am going out as a merchant navy officer or a merchant service or for an employment, then the 60 days will not be there into picture. I will talk about more than 182 days and less than 182 days. If I am in India less than 182 days, clear on, I don't need to check any other rules. I will be called as a non-resident. But yeah, if I am more than 182 days in India, it is a resident. Now here in this entire table, we are all talking about when am I a resident, right? I am not talking, the session is about NRI taxation. But nowhere I'm talking about NRI. I'm talking entirely on, in this case, you will be resident, in that case, you will be resident. Reason being, the Section 6 income tax rules or FEMA, everyone talks about resident means this, and non-resident definition says anyone who does not satisfy the resident definition is a non-resident. So considering those factors, if I do not satisfy any of these conditions, I become a non-resident. And what is the consequence of becoming a non-resident? Why is it important for me to know that I am a non-resident? Yeah, let me come to this name. Besides the non-resident, suppose I am a resident, but in the previous 10 years, out of 10, I individually check for each year to find whether I was a resident or a non-resident. And I resultantly find that I was a non-resident in 9 out of those 10 years. That is condition 1. Or I was in India for less than 729 days in all in the last 7 financial years. If I satisfy any of these conditions, then I'll be resident, but not ordinarily resident. So totally, I have these 3 concepts: a pure resident, that is an ordinary resident; a non-resident, which are the 2 extreme ends; and third is something in between, which is called as not ordinarily resident. That is, I keep coming and going, right? And the reason of knowing these 3 categories are, my scope of income tells me what will be taxable in India, right? If I'm talking about a complete resident, that is an ordinary resident, any type of income, let it be an income which is received in India or it is deemed to be received in India, both taxable. Income accrued in India or deemed to be accrued in India, taxable. Income which is accrued, arise and received, everything outside India, but I am an ordinary resident, it is still taxable in India. So for an ordinary resident, anything and everything on the earth which I earn as a resident is taxable in India. When it comes to not ordinarily resident, an income which I actually receive in India or is deemed to be received in India. Now, if I just give examples of income received in India, is anything. I have received the bank interest, I have received salary, I have received dividend, I have received rent, I received capital gains. They're all actual receipts. So what is deemed to be received? Suppose I have, there is a salaried person who is depositing PF, right? That person has gone abroad. Now he is otherwise not getting anything in India, but his employer is still contributing to his PF. That case, it is a deemed income in India, amount received, that is actually received. Suppose he is getting an interest on the employer portion of that PF. That is an income deemed received in India. So that kind of income in case of an ordinary resident is taxable. For a non-ordinary resident, it is taxable, as well as for a non-resident. In all 3 categories, ultimately that is an income which belongs to Indian jurisdiction. So in all categories, it is taxable in India. Income which accrues or arises in India. Accrues or arise, if I talk about, I am a non-resident, but I have a property in India. That property is earning certain income. It is earning a rental, or if it is sold, there is a capital gain. It is related to that property. I myself am not over here, but this property belongs to me and income is coming, accruing to that property. So indirectly, it means that income of mine is accrued in India because the property is in India and deemed to accrue or arise. An example of that would be, I am now serving in US. I am getting US salary. Everything is fine. I might be still getting or only accumulating certain benefits in India from my Indian employer. If I am on a deployment somewhere over there, then that will be deemed accrued. Or else I am a foreigner or a non-resident Indian completely US based. US company has sent me to India for certain activities. I need to remain in India for say 6 months or say 4 months, right? Out of that 4 months, I'm a non-resident, but I have received salary which has not come to India, not in my bank account in India. It is received outside India, but still it will be taxable India under the leg accrued to him in India. Accrued or arised, deemed to be accrue or arise to him in India because the services were performed in India. Suppose I am running certain consultancy, I visited over here, I made certain consultancy to any of the companies out here. I don't have my PE. So that employee or that person, for that, it might, if it is related to the business in India, it might still be considered as accrued or arised in India. So in such categories, again, it becomes taxable in all the three cases for a resident, not ordinary resident, as well as a non-resident. But when it is an income which accrues outside India, which is like my salary in US, I become a resident over here and not ordinarily resident or non-resident. Suppose I'm an ordinary resident. I served outside India for 3 months and then I came to India. I satisfied all the conditions of being an ordinary resident. Then even the income which was from a service outside India, received outside India, but global income. So worldwide, it is still taxable in India because now you are an ordinary resident in India, right? So in such cases for ordinary resident, it will be taxable. But in case of a non-ordinary resident, suppose in the current financial year, I stayed over here for 9 months, but I did not satisfy the other conditions. For last 9 out of 10 years, probably I was outside India. I was an NRI. Or in that 7 years, 765 days, I was in India for less than 790 days. In such conditions, that US income of that 3 months will be taxable in US and Indian income will be taxable in India. I will not have to bring in that 3 months income also in India to get it taxed. And in case of a non-resident, such income will never be taxable. It will always be taxable outside India, right? Now, by knowing all this is important, especially in the years when we are moving in and out. When I am coming to India, I know I am going to come to India, and if I become an ordinary resident, I have come to India somewhere in the month of January, right? I stayed over here January 1st, means I'm talking about nearly 91 days, 90 days, right? Depending on the number of days in February. If I'm talking of those 90 days, whether I'm a resident or a non-resident, if I am a resident, all the income that I earned when I was abroad will all be now taxed to India. So I need to understand that I am over here for 90 days, but I was outside for an employment and hence I can come here for 90 days. Or I have not, that employment thing was not there. I was there for any XYZ reasons. Okay, I was a dependent on someone, I was staying outside. So it was not my employment. So in such cases, then I should ensure that it is less than 60 days. I should try to prolong my visit, stay outside for that month of January also. And I should come to India maybe in the month of February only. Try that I am in India for less than 60 days. Because otherwise, unnecessarily, whatever bank interest or whatever XYZ income is there outside India will become taxable in India. So it is very important. Firstly, the purpose. Why I am moving out or why I am coming in. If it is employment, then the number of days change. If I'm going for merchant navy, the number of days change. If I have income of 15 lakhs in India, the number of days become 120. So check what income you have in India. Check out the rules of the other country. Because here when we are talking, I told the residence rules talks about 182 days less, 60 days, 120 days. They are all numbers of the Indian income tax law. If I'm talking about US, if, for example, US does not talk about 182 days, it talks about 150 days or 140 days. It might happen that you might end up being a resident there also, you might end up being a resident in India also. What happens? General rule is for any person who is a resident of that country, an ordinary resident, he needs to declare his global income. So unnecessarily you will pay taxes in India also, and on the same income you pay taxes in US also. And correspondingly, there also you have to declare US as well as Indian income. Try and avoid such situations, and that is why it is important. I need to know the rules of that country before I actually travel to that country. Even when I'm talking about someone coming from US or UK or Australia to India, I need to know the rules of India. In what conditions I will be classified as a non-resident or a resident or a not ordinary resident in India. Plan your days accordingly. And this is one thing which I'm talking, plan to transfer the assets to another in case it is felt necessary. Suppose I know I am going outside India for study. I am going for some job, some internship. I don't know for how much time I will be there. So as per FEMA, I immediately become a non-resident. For income tax, I'll become non-resident by the year end because more or less I'll be completing those number of days and all. Right? So in such a situation, if I am in UK, I will have to declare all my Indian income in UK also and pay taxes on it. Now, what is difficult is in India, suppose you are paying taxes at 10% on some income. When you go to UK, you might be falling in, say, 30% bracket. So, Indian income again will be added to the UK income, and the additional 20%, which is shortfall as per the UK tax law, you will have to pay in UK also. And this is something which is very commonly observed and I would say overlooked by the students who are going abroad or by the people who are going abroad for the first time. They don't plan this properly. So they fail to actually disclose this income also in foreign. And in the previous years, if I talk about even half a decade before today, these things were not that noticed. But now the information exchange agreements that are being signed by every country and more so implemented. These agreements were in place for many years now, but they were not implemented in its true sense. But today, if you all have any relatives who are in US, you commonly hear about the word fatka. Are fatka firm sign kara hai. What is fatka firm? Fatka is that information exchange form in US you have to sign. In the world, wherever assets you have, you need to put it down. What income you are earning in that on that investment in the year, you need to declare it to the government out there. You have to pay taxes on that. So it is now not that easy that hum will not show and things will be just done away with. Now, even for small mismatches, you come across notices coming to you. You have your income tax return wherein you have to declare everything, right? So be very careful. And wherever you feel, I am going abroad, I don't know, I'll come back in 2 years or 5 years, or maybe I'll not come back only. In such situation, it is advisable that you transfer your assets to your parents or siblings or something. You do something such that the consequence of income is not, the income in India on these investments is not doubly taxed out there. We don't understand this very seriously now. As we come to the end of this seminar, I'll tell you what exactly are the extra taxes that we pay by just keeping these assets over here. If I come to the common investments, one very common investment an NRI will make is they'll definitely purchase a property in India, a residential property. They might have that property for their self-use. They might rent it out. They might have inherited it, or they might have purchased when they were in India and now they have left. Now what is to be done with that? So when it comes to purchase of property, can an NRI purchase property? Yes, he can purchase property, both residential and commercial. What he cannot purchase is the agricultural land, right? And if, although he has inherited an agricultural land, he can keep it. It is not required that today I became an NRI and I need to sell it off or I need to transfer it to someone. I can hold on to that asset. Yes, I can say after selling what is to be done, let us come to, but I can definitely hold on to that asset. purchase. This purchase can happen from the funds which I have left behind in India, or the income that was just accumulated over the period in India, or out of the proceeds which I actually remit. There are both ways purchase is possible. Difference is, suppose I am purchasing that property out of Indian funds, then transfer of those Indian funds has restrictions. But if I am purchasing the property, the commercial or the residential property out of my foreign funds by an actual inward remittance of those funds through the NRE or the NRO account, in such cases, to the extent of the funds that I've actually brought in, can be easily taken back. And the profit thereupon can be transferred with restrictions. For purchase, these properties can be purchased either with your signature, you can come down for registration, or you can execute it through power of attorney. Generally, we guide our clients, and whenever you're moving out of India, give a very in-depth and comprehensive power of attorney to a family member whom you trust. Reason being, suppose I need to do any transaction for which a signature is required. Now you cannot travel to India every time for the signature. Suppose I need to now authorize someone to do the signatures. What happens is, if it is done in India, it is a question of some few hundreds or some couple of thousand rupees. But if this POA is required to be done from that respective foreign country, they need to go to the embassy. They need to get it apostilled, and the apostille cost is huge. It is not a few couple of thousands. It will be a couple of £100, a couple of $100, which when multiplied to the rupees, it goes on for some 40, 50,000, 1 lakh. So this is one very important thing which you should know when the person is moving out. If your family member is moving out, if you know your client is going out, advise them to get a comprehensive, clear-cut power of attorney, not a simple two-liner that I give all the powers to Falana. That will not work. You have to clearly pen down every type of activity which that the authority person can do on your behalf. He can purchase the property. Yes, for sale, there are restrictions. But again, if you are very clear that he can sell the property on your behalf, he has complete rights, then even sale of the property is allowed through the power of attorney, right? Purchase, sale of property, the NRI can freely sell all types of property directly or through the power of attorney. Right? Again, where I said if the power of attorney is a general one or something like that, the registrar might not accept the power of attorney, and you will now need to get a new POA done, or you will have to travel to India to get the registration done. Question now comes is, as far as I purchased it, I sold it, money is in India, no one is bothered. Things are pretty safe. But if this remittance needs to travel outside India, which we call an outward remittance. They need the money out there in UK, they need it in France, they need it in Japan, because now they're residing there. They don't want to keep this money here, or maybe they want to buy a house, they want money out there. Indian house, they no longer require because they don't want to come here anymore. Or they have 4 properties, so they're like, I require 1 house to come to India, let me sell the other 3 properties. What happens? For the money that was actually brought to India, or as an inward remittance for purchase of these properties, I can take it back. For the rest of the amount, that is my profit portion, can be taken only to the extent of 2 residential properties and any amount of commercial properties. So generally what we do is we try to go in for residential properties only. We generally do not go for commercial properties because one is, there is some block in mind ki commercial property ka main kya karoon, or maybe it is costly. So for those blocks, I generally do not invest into commercial properties. We generally go ahead with residential properties. But mind it, in case of residential properties, you can remit the profit only to the extent of 2 residential properties and not all. So very important to understand. And remittance of sale proceeds of an agricultural property is not possible Now, this, what I've mentioned, catch with respect to the remittance of 1 million scheme. We'll come to that 1 million scheme. It generally talks about what is the amount that an NRI can take outside India. And there are people who also say, "Okay, I am not allowed to take back that amount as a general permission, but in the 1 million scheme, I can take out any amount." So, as far as the provisions are concerned, the FEMA provisions that are concerned, you cannot take out the entire money. If something is otherwise restricted under any other rule or section of the Act, then that cannot actually be taken out under the 1 million scheme also. But if I talk about practicality of the record, there are banks who do not understand this. They don't understand that something which is otherwise restricted cannot be clubbed and taken out under the 1 million scheme. So you might find some banks who will still allow to take out this money also. So you can take a chance on that. You can try. I mean, there are many clients, X transaction does not happen, for example, in ICICI Bank, but it will get through by HSBC Bank. It might get through in SBI Bank. It depends on what is the knowledge of the officer out there, because FEMA is such a huge act in itself that all people, even in the banks, do not know about it, and they might end up, people are taking advantage of those loopholes and the lack of knowledge of these people. So you can try it out, but if as a, I would say, interpretation of law, if I talk about, you are not allowed to take it out in the 1 million scheme also, if it is otherwise restricted. For property purchase, this was something FEMA related information, who can invest and in what terms, etc., how much can be remitted. If I talk about its income tax part, it is very important for us. If I am on the other side, if I am the consultant of a buyer, or if I am the buyer of a property which is being sold by an NRI, I need to understand that TDS will now be deducted under 195 and not under 194 IA. What does 194 IA say? 194 IA says 1% of the sales consideration, right? And 195 says you need to deduct the entire tax which is otherwise leviable on that particular transaction. Practically, what happens is that NRI seller is selling a property worth 2 crore rupees, right? Is the tax to be paid on 2 crores? You and I both know it is not required. It will be paid on a short-term capital gain or a long-term capital gain at the rate of 20%, 30%, depending on whatever it is. But as a buyer, how do I know what is the amount of tax capital gains on that? What is the exact rate? And how do I know? I have ways to know. I will take all his calculations. I can make those calculations and do the exact tax deduction. But as a buyer, if later something goes wrong, he forged in giving certain documents, or I was a bit not knowledgeable to understand what are the kind of deductions that were allowed, and he said, and it will be allowed. Based on that, it so happened I was required to deduct 7%, but I deducted 5%. The rest of the 2% shortfall, I will have to pay from my pocket, because later on that NRI will not come to reimburse that 2%, right? So due to this problem, what happens is the buyer says, I will deduct. Generally, long-term capital gain, that can be determined. I will have the purchase document, right? So from the purchase document, if I find it is more than 3 years, 2 years, and what in the present case, I determine whether it is long-term or short-term. If it is long-term, 20% plus education cess plus cess, that is somewhere around 25% of the total consideration. In present case, it was 2 crores. In those, out of those 2, and again, the surcharge will depend on the category, whether this is 2 crores, 5 crores, 15 crores, and my level. Based on that particular surcharge percentage, 20 plus the surcharge plus cess, suppose it comes to 23%, 25%, that 25% is deducted on the sales consideration. So on 2 crores, if the buyer is deducting 25%, You can imagine the amount of blockage of funds. I am not required as an NRI. The NRI will not be required to pay taxes on 2 crores. He will do all his calculations. The capital gains comes to say 30 lakhs, or say it comes to zero because of indexation and everything. What happens in such a case? Tax deducted is 50 lakhs. I am required to pay zero taxes. I have to claim back the entire 50 lakhs. You know how easy it is to claim 50 lakhs from the department, right? The time that they will take, they will pay interest on that, but the effort and time involved for that NRI will be drastically harassment kind of thing for him. So in such a situation, what happens is I have this concept of lower TDS under 197. So in case of sale by property by an NRI, it is very, very advisable that we tell him to go and obtain a lower TDS certificate under section 197. The process takes somewhere around right from the time when that person will contact you, you make the papers, you make the submissions, and the certificate is received. You can consider it 1.5 to 2 months of the process, and the certificate will be with you. Yes, it looks too huge, but when I compare that with regards to the effort that I will be otherwise required to be made to procure that 50 lakhs from the department, I am sure the NRI seller will wait. Right? Now the TDS which is deducted, if I'm talking from the buyer's point of view, from the buyer's point of view, I told the TDS is required to be deducted at 195 and not 194B. So now I have to deduct at that 20 plus surcharge and cess and not at 1% of the sales consideration. TDS payment is required to be done before the 7th of the next month, unlike that 40 days from the end of the month, which we do in case of 194 IB. In case of 194 IB, we are not required, the buyer is not required to procure a TAN. He is only required to file form 26. I'm sorry, I went to property rental, sorry. Here, 26 QB. And you all must have filed this 26 QB. It is a challan cum return wherein you fill in all the details, you make the payment and things are done. But in case of a property buyer from an NRI, you need to file a proper quarterly return. You need to make the payment before 7th of the succeeding month, and form 26 QB is not going to help you. You also have to procure a TAN. Even for this section 197 application which I'm talking about, the buyer will be required to procure a TAN. It will be through his, when the certificate is received, it will be based on his TAN that you will receive this certificate. Something similar provisions in case of property rentals also. When a property rental is given by an NRI to a resident or a non-resident or whatever, the landowner or the property owner is an NRI, he can provide his property on rental to any type of assessee, being it a company, individual, HUF, anyone. The tenant has to deduct tax under section 195 and not 194 IB. Right? TDS payment is required to be done before the 7th of the next month and not 30 days, which we generally do in other cases. You need to procure a TAN. And here, when I'm talking about this section 195 and not 194 IB, here then the TDS is also that heavy. Under 194 IB, probably you deduct TDS at say 5%. But here it will be 30% plus surcharge and cess. So the difference is huge. But in this case, you will not generally want to take a section 197 certificate. Difference here also is huge, the way you had in the case of property purchase. Right? Why my advice is different when I'm talking about procuring a lower TDS. This is basically, when I talk about a sale of property, the ticket size is huge. I'm selling a property worth 1 crore, 2 crores, 5 crores. And then on that, if I'm talking about a 25%, my blockage of funds is in lakhs, 50 lakhs, 1 crore, 1.5 crore, right? But when I talk about rentals, my rental is 1 lakh, my rental is 5 lakhs. On that 30%. And that too, this certificate, if I'm talking about, it is person specific, year specific. So suppose my tenant is changing between the year, again I need to procure a new certificate. Plus year specifics. Come 1st April, for the same tenant, I will again need to procure a certificate which will take 1.5 months. Right? So in such a situation, we generally in this case ask them not to procure one night event. But yes, if the ticket size of the rental is huge, I need to make a cost versus effort analysis. And if I feel that there is a huge blockage of funds, I can procure it for the rental case also. Here also the tenant needs a TAN and he cannot file the return under 26 QC. A proper quarterly return in my normal process needs to go. Now, if I'm talking about common investments, I went for property because that is something which I think every NRI would have one property in India, and then in few years time they start, okay, now I'm not residing in India, let me put it on rental, or maybe let me put it across for sale. I don't need it anymore. When it comes to shares or maybe mutual fund investments, can a non-resident invest? So here I will draw your attention to NRI and not NR, means a person who is a foreign resident and who is becoming a resident. I mean, those residency rules and all that. In such cases, these rules don't apply. I'm talking about a person of Indian origin, a person who's an Indian citizen. OCI means overseas citizen of India. What does this mean? This means there was a concept where people used to understand OCI is a dual citizenship. Means I am a citizen of India as well as I'm a citizen of Australia. It's not like that. If you're a citizen of Australia, you are a citizen of Australia alone. India does not allow dual citizenship, right? OCI means overseas citizen of India, which means I have this card, which is a lifelong visa. When coming to India in my life, I will never require to procure a visa, that is a permission from the embassy, whether I can visit to India and for how many days. I can stay in India as if I am an Indian, right? But he is not a citizen of India. PIO means he is a person of Indian origin. He is not even procured that lifetime visa. Whenever he needs to come to India, he needs the permission, he needs visa. But originally, probably he was in India, or his parents have been parents or grandparents have been Indians. Because of that, they say he is a person of Indian origin. So an NRI, an OCI, and a PIO can hold all the shares which he had purchased as a resident. And when he was a resident in India and he had purchased certain shares, he can hold it. Or he has inherited those shares from his parents, grandparents, or siblings, or whatever. If that is the case, he can hold on to the shares. And I'm talking about holding on to the shares. If I'm selling those shares, I need to pay taxes, no doubt. But the money which I'm talking about in such cases cannot be repatriated outside India. They need to remain within India. Once I become an NRI, can I now purchase and sell the shares? Yes, I can. But I cannot open a trading account or a demat account, regular demat account in the bank, and I cannot procure these shares from that. I need to open a portfolio investment scheme, that is PIS, and through that only just a sec. Okay. Through that only we can do the transfer of these shares and trading. Investment in mutual fund or certain government securities, public sector enterprise securities, debt securities, I can procure directly. I can sell it to them. I cannot do it on the stock market. Again, if it is through stock market, it has to be through PIS and not on a regular. And why these restrictions of PIS are there? You all know every company has restrictions on the holding by a non-resident or a foreign resident, right? So to take care of those restrictions, basically these PIS scheme come into picture. This is a special demat account opened through an authorized dealer, and they will take care of all these restrictions, and they'll get your investments traded. Intraday trading is not allowed. It is compulsory to hold to get the delivery of the shares. FNO is allowed on non-repatriable. Non-repatriable means the money needs to be kept in India. Right. Now, we talked about income. We talked about cases wherein income was there in India, income was there outside India. And I also talked about that in the host country, you need to declare your entire income. But suppose there is a person who is now a resident of US, but on income, he has to pay taxes in India also. He has to declare the same to US. So he will be taxed in US also. So what? He'll just keep on paying taxes across the world? No, there is this concept of DTAA, that is double taxation avoidance agreements. And there are all these cross-border considerations, but how do they work? See, these comprehensive agreements or other agreements are there between India and most of the countries. When I talk about my personal income, where I'm earning salary and things like that, whenever there is confusion, I talked about received in India, deemed to be received in India. As far as it is actually received in India, there is no confusion. Received outside India, there is no confusion. Confusions come into picture when there is a picture of deemed to be received, deemed to be accrued, right? So in such situations, I need to understand where it will become. So I need to read the DTAAs. There are several articles that in case of immovable property, where it will be taxable. Generally, it is taxable, and the place where the immovable property is, placed. For shares, it is where the company is established. In case of rent, in case of salary, where the services are rendered. So all those things are very nicely defined under the DTAA. I need to refer those to determine whether it will be taxable in India or it will be taxable outside India. And when you end up paying taxes in both the places, you get the relief of the tax in your host country. Host country is a country where you are a resident. Right? Declaration of global income in the host country. In cases where NRIs paid taxes, you get a relief in the host country. Issues involved. Now, I was talking about this thing wherein I'll spend 2 minutes giving you some examples. Suppose I have sold a property in India. As per DTAA, it is taxable in India. So I paid taxes as per my capital gains. The long-term indexation was given and all those procedures were done. Say I'm going to UK, say I'm going to US, they do not have the concept of indexation. Right? Because there is no inflation out there, so they don't have the concept of indexation. I sold a property worth 2 crore rupees. I had bought it in 70 lakh rupees in say 2001. Till today, it got multiplied by 3 times. So my property as index value is 2 crore 10 lakh, 2 crore 20 lakh. So in India, no taxes were required to be paid. But when I go to US, I need to pay taxes on it. Why? Because in US, there is no concept of indexation. So the capital gains will be 2 crores minus 70 lakhs. 1 crore 30 is my gain tax, which I need to pay in the US. Suppose in India, my losses, in this case, it was a loss. Suppose I had bought it for 50 lakh rupees and the index value is 1 crore 50. Capital gains of 50, I paid long-term capital gain tax of 20%. So I am telling there is no cess, etc., and no surcharge on this. So a round of figure of 10 lakh rupees I've paid as taxes. Now I will go to US, declare this on 1 crore 50, and suppose I'm not taking a lower TDS. And the TDS certificate, lower TDS certificate is not taken, and TDS was deducted at this 25%. So 50 lakhs of tax was deducted. Suppose in the US, they have to pay 30 lakh of rupees after all the calculations. And in India, I paid, for example, 50 lakh rupees. That 20 will not be refunded to him in US. right? So these kind of small complications do creep in when these cross-border clubbing things are happening. And that is why if I'm actually living over there, it is fine. But if I'm not living and I'm moving around, I've moved down to the current year and things like that, I need to ensure that my residence structure is very crystal clear and I've planned my stuff. I don't end up in such a situation that I keep on paying hefty taxes everywhere. I know I'm going to go to US and I'm never going to come back. And maybe in a year down the line, I'm going to sell off this property. Better I sell it out today only, and not after becoming a resident in US or a resident in UK or a resident in Japan. Right? Standard deduction, ATC deductions, all these things are generally not there in those countries. And as a result, you end up paying actually double tax in that country, not getting a relief from what has been actually paid in India. So that hit is coming and we cannot avoid it unless you really plan to get. This is one, I'll just give a minute on this. Liberalized remittance scheme is not for non-resident. It is actually for a resident. If I, as a resident, need to spend certain money outside, I need to procure some shares outside, my child is studying, I need to support his educational fees, I send some relative for medical, all that expenses which I need to do in the foreign country are covered under my LRS scheme. But why is it important and why have I covered this slide over here? I've covered this slide basically because, one, for the non-resident, generally, as I told, this is not the scheme for non-resident. For this resident, non-resident, it is a 1 million remittance scheme, which means 1 million, that is 10 lakh USDs per year. A non-resident can transfer from his Indian assets to his foreign country where he now is going to become a resident or is a resident over there, right? So 10 lakh USD is a huge amount which he can transfer every year. So 31st March, he transferred 1 million USD. 1st April, again, he can transfer 1 million USD. What if he is transferring pounds or he is transferring dirhams? You please just conversion value. So 1 million, 10 lakh USD, you can convert what Indian rupees means in that, and that much of the converted dirhams, converted yens, you can transfer for any kind of, but again, jaise maine bola, if it is out of the restricted transaction, it will not be, you will not be able to transfer that money even if you have the limit of 1 million left. Suppose you have transferred only 3 lakh of USD. You have 7 lakh USD, you can still transfer. You have money in India, but that is out of a sale of agricultural property. So proceeds of sale of agricultural property are not repatriable. So ideally, under even the 1 billion scheme, this is not repatriable, but many schemes, many banks allow it. So you can take your chance. There are people who have a lot of planning around how this money can be routed through different things and then can be shown that it is not out of agricultural sale and now I want to remit it. Everything is a very good imagination play that you can make. But as a law abider, I will say this is not allowed. And this 250,000 includes all types of gifts, loans, expenses, etc. So whenever I am giving a loan or I'm taking a loan from an NRI, I need to be very careful that it should not be more than 250,000 USD, right? And you can take loan only from the NRIs who are your close relatives. That is the relative definition as per income tax. Don't go and take it from other people. It is not allowed under them. While doing the LRS, there is this TCS, which is being very debated in the last 2 years. There's a lot of TCS that is being put on place. And I will not cover that now because I think we need to take up certain questions. There are some FAQs over here for which the answers are also written. I'm keeping this slide open for you all to read. Others can post in their questions. And if you all don't understand any of that, this PPT also will be shared with you. So that is also okay. If you still have any questions, you can post it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful introduction. Now, taking few minutes. First question is, what are the income tax implications of opening demat account in India by an NRI along with his or her resident father?
His or her resident
Father.
father. If he is a second holder just as a nominee, that is fine. But if he is a primary holder, it won't be allowed.
Next is when the financial year is not uniform with that of India and Form 67 could not be filed in time. What is the remedy to claim the tax paid in the foreign country where DTAA is available?
Well, in such a case, I will not say that just because of the difference in the financial year, you couldn't file Form 67. Suppose the financial year is December for the foreign country and for us it is March. I will include income also till December in my current financial year. Because if you talk about the income, if you see the FA assets and FA income in your income tax returns, you read it clearly. It talks about disclosure of income till the end of the financial year in the respective country. So it talks about disclosing only till 31st December. So the income and related taxes always go hand in hand. So Form 67 was not being able to find that does not come into picture. And if that form is not filed, I am sorry, but I don't think we'll be able to do anything unless the assessing officer gives us any relief.
Next, with regard to life insurance policies taken abroad during the period when a person is an NRI, what will be the position in terms of taxation for the proceeds received on maturity once the person becomes a resident in India? Hello?
See, if I talk about time of maturity, it is the same. It does not make a difference between if the LIC proceeds are taxable when you are taking the policy, it will be taxable later on also. If it is not taxable at that time, it will not be taxable now also. So you need to be very careful. In LIC proceed, you need to understand what kind of LIC proceeds it is. Is it an exempt 1010D exempt proceeds? Are they other is short-term life insurance products by itself are so complicated to go line by line to understand what is the category under which it will become taxable. And by becoming a resident and non-resident respect for the taxability. Any more questions, Nikita?
Yeah, there are questions, but due to limitation of time,
okay,
they can reach to you directly.
No problem. Okay. You all can reach out to me. I'll just I can write if I write something in the chat window, will that be visible to the participants? Or else I'll just screen share my contact details. You all can note down the contact details from here and you all can post me your queries. Okay, ma'am, we can proceed other than that.
Okay, just a vote of thanks message.
Okay.
We are truly honored to have had the chance to hear from an expert in the field of taxation, and I'm sure that the knowledge that has been imparted today will be of great value to all of us. We are indeed grateful for the time, effort, and commitment. Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm sure that all of us have gained a lot of knowledge on this topic. I would also like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to Women and Young Members Excellence Committee for organizing such an informative section. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone. All of you all are also doing such a fantastic job. Thank WIMEC committee for posing that confidence in me that I was able to deliver what I know. And I'll be there for anything and everything each of you all require. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good evening to all the dignitaries, respected speakers, and all the participants. I am CA Prachi Ranade from Nagpur. Firstly, I thank the WIMEC committee for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this wonderful event. I now take the privilege to introduce the speaker of the second session, CA Kinjal Shah ma'am. Kinjal madam has been a practicing member from the past 4 years. Madam has successfully qualified the DISA and the certificate course on concurrent bank audit. Madam has also been certified by the Chartered Financial Goal Planner American Academy of Financial Management and Chartered Retirement Goal Planner American Academy of Financial Management, India. Kinjal Madam has also been associated with Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan of ICAI. She is also associated with one of the leading organizations in investment services. CA Kinjal Shah has also undergone leadership development programs conducted by ISB Hyderabad. Apart from her academic achievements, Madam has also completed her Visharad in Bharatnatyam and BA in music. I welcome CA Kinjal Shah ma'am and hand over the session to her for her valuable inputs on the topic, importance of attire. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you, Kinjal ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for such a brief introduction. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So today actually it was my test because हाँ ये जो प्रेजेंटेशन मैं देना चाह रही थी तो पीसी से मेरा नहीं हो रहा था. So I have joined through mobile and thank you Nikita ma'am for sharing this my presentation. So as आपने सबने जान ही लिया कि wait one second, there's technical glitch. Yeah, thank you for waiting.
Ma'am, you can switch off your video.
May I? Okay. No, it's okay. Yeah. So, first of all, let me wish you all a very happy new financial year. And today, I'm just going to say about something which is very well known to all of us, but still sometimes हम भूल जाते हैं. तो ये क्या है टॉपिक? So next, please. Yeah. So my topic name is the most important attire. So generally attire का meaning हमारे लिए क्या होता है? जैसे वर्बली हम देखें लिटरल मीनिंग निकलता है पहनावा. तो आप सोच रहे होंगे ये सीएस को ये इतनी बड़ी बड़ी टैक्सेशंस की जो नॉलेज दे रहे थे उसमें बीच में ये पहनावे के बारे में क्यों आया है? पर जस्ट टेक अ पॉज. ये अटायर कुछ अलग तरीके का है. अटायर को हम जैसे नेक्स्ट प्लीज. अगर हम हाँ ये बताए कि क्या कह सकते हैं तो इट्स अ मैटर ऑफ आउटलुक एंड डेफिनेटली मैटर ऑफ चॉइस. पर वो ऐसा है जो हम अपना वर्ल्ड दिखाना चाहते हैं दुनिया को. तो ये ऐसा कौन सा अटायर है विच इज नन अनदर एटीट्यूड. नेक्स्ट प्लीज. सो दिस इज माई टॉपिक फॉर टुडे, एटीट्यूड. अगर ये टाइटल डायरेक्ट ही हमने एटीट्यूड रखा होता तो शायद कुछ बोरिंग लगता कि हाँ यार सब लोग बात करते हैं एटीट्यूड की, हमें अच्छा एटीट्यूड तो है ही, तभी तो हम सीए बने हैं, यहाँ तक पहुंचे हैं. पर ये ऐसी बात है कि कभी कभी हमको जो धूल जमा हो गई होती है हमारी यादों में तो उसे हटाना चाहिए. जैसे इसमें लिखा है एटीट्यूड नॉट एप्टीट्यूड डिटरमाइंस योर एल्टीट्यूड. बिकॉज एप्टीट्यूड क्या है? जो हमारी कैपेबिलिटी है. तो हमें लगता है कि हाँ यार मैंने ये सीखा है, मैं ये कर सकती हूँ, वो सीखा है, ये नहीं कर सकती. तो हमारे पास कुछ लिमिटेशंस आ जाती है. पर हमेशा ये नहीं होता कि हमारा एप्टीट्यूड ही हमारा एल्टीट्यूड यानी हमारी मंजिल वो डिसाइड करे. एक्चुअली एटीट्यूड है जो काफी हद तक हमारे रिजल्ट्स को इफेक्ट करता है. नेक्स्ट प्लीज. So maybe you must be thinking कि ये क्या आ गया, बट इसको देख के हम सबके माइंड में सबसे पहले क्या आता है? Maybe if we can hear the voice or in the chat box, please give me answer so I can at least know that people are participating. No issue. So ये देख के सबसे पहले हमारे दिमाग में आता है कि यार डोंकी ये क्यों? निकिता मैम, यू कैन क्लिक ऑन दिस. यस, बिकॉज ये क्या है? एकदम लीस्ट ग्लैमरस, या फिर हम कह दे कि यार ये तो यूजलेस है, टेकन फॉर ग्रांटेड एनिमल है. हम कैसे भी मतलब लाइक इन गाली में भी कभी यूज कर लेते कि यार गधा है, ये है, वो है. पर बहुत कम हमारे ऐसे रिस्पॉन्स होते हैं कि यार एक हार्ड वर्किंग एनिमल है, इट्स अ लॉयल हार्ड वर्किंग एनिमल. तो ये बस बात नजरिए की है. गधा तो वही है, डोंकी रिमेन सेम, पर उसकी कौन सी बात हमें देखनी है और कौन सी हमें इग्नोर करनी है, वो हमारे एटीट्यूड पे है. नेक्स्ट प्लीज. सो जैसा हमने ये डोंकी के पिक्चर को देख के किया, वैसा ही हम अपनी लाइफ में करते हैं सिचुएशंस को लेके, या फिर अपने सामने कोई चीज, कोई व्यक्ति आता है तो उसको देख के जजमेंटल बन जाता है कि हाँ यार ये ऐसा ही होगा, इसने ऐसा क्यों कहा ये. पर हर चीज जजमेंट के ऊपर नहीं होती, क्योंकि कभी कभी जो हमारा एटीट्यूड होता है सिचुएशन को लेके, वो वो पूरा ही विपरीत होता है जो एक्चुअल हैपनिंग हुआ होता है. सो दिस वीडियो मे बी नोन टू ऑल ऑफ अस, पर कभी कभी हम कंप्लेन करते रह जाते हैं कि यार मुझे ये हो गया है आज, तो मुझे यहाँ आना लेट हो गया था, इसके लिए ये हो गया आज. सेम फॉर मी कि यार टेक्निकल जी ग्लिचेस है, मैं अपना प्रेजेंटेशन कैसे दूं. पर ये सारी सारी एक्सक्यूजेस हमें इनकी जो प्रॉब्लम्स है उनके सामने एकदम नहीं के बराबर लगते हैं. सो वी कैन मूव फॉरवर्ड टुवर्ड द presentation again. So Nikita ma'am, please can you play the presentation?
Is it visible now?
Yes, yes. Okay. Can we move further? So this is the example of stimulus response experiment. What does it mean? Stimulus यानी कोई भी एक्ट होना और उसके सामने जैसे बोलते हैं एक्शन का रिएक्शन होता है वो. तो क्या जरूरी है हमेशा हर बात का रिएक्शन हमें देना चाहिए? आंसर है नो. क्योंकि जो कुछ भी होता है उसके सामने जो रिस्पॉन्स आता है उसके बीच में थोड़ा सा स्पेस रहता है. वहां हमारे पास फ्रीडम है चूज करने के लिए कि हम क्या करें. और ये इतना इतना कम टाइम होता है कि जब हमने डेवलप की हो वैसी प्रैक्टिस, तो हमारा रिस्पॉन्स सही आता है. वरना क्विक रिस्पॉन्स हमारे ऐसे आ जाते हैं कि मतलब एंगर आ जाना, इरिटेट हो जाना, या फिर गिव अप कर देना. वो सारे रिस्पॉन्स हमारे एकदम तुरंत होते हैं. लेकिन अगर हमने ये एटीट्यूड वाली प्रैक्टिस अगर डेवलप की है तो हम हर एक एक्शन का सही रिएक्शन दे सकते हैं. तो कैन वी जस्ट गो टू यस यस जस्ट an example of reaction. Yes ma'am. आई गेस हमें ये लिंक नहीं हो रहा है, तो मैम हम दूसरा वाला वो प्रेजेंटेशन वो प्ले कर सकते हैं आप शेयर स्क्रीन में जाके 90:10 वाला.
Ma'am, it's playing now.
बट यहाँ दिख नहीं रहा है.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, that 90-10 wala. Uh, yes. Thank you so much. Play, please. You need to just click on after reading one and one sentence.
It's audible?
No, it's okay. If volume आता है तो सही है, वरना चलेगा ये. This is just a presentation, so we need to read only.
Okay.
It's by Stephen Covey, that 90-10 principle, which says हमारी काफी रिजल्ट्स के ऊपर 90% चीजें ऐसी होती है जो हमारे कंट्रोल में होती है, और 10% चीजें होती है जो हमारे कंट्रोल के बाहर होती है. सो वी कैन गो फर्दर. It's very interesting example. this could be the reaction actually what it should be. So yes, ma'am. Can we come to the original presentation? So as this 90-10 principle, if I go with this, तो आज ये जो मैंने 3 डिवाइस यूज किए, कितने नेटवर्क के चेंज करके ट्राई किया पर कुछ हुआ नहीं, तो दैट वाज नॉट इन माय कंट्रोल, बट द इन माय कंट्रोल वाज हाउ डू आई एम गोइंग टू प्रेजेंट दिस. So I tried to remain calm and I was being going to speak on this attitude. I was actually trying to keep my attitude calm and composed. Is it playing?
Yeah, ma'am, you are not able to see.
No.
Now?
Yes, ma'am. So here comes effective talks. There are so many kind of talks. Click please. जो हम नॉर्मल करते हैं एक दूसरे से, जो इस नेक्स्ट इमेज में है, हम 2 जन बात करते हैं, 3 जन बात करते हैं, या हम लोगों से बात करते हैं. इन सब में इफेक्टिव कौन सी है? क्या लोगों की एक दूसरे के बीच में, हमारी किसी और के साथ, या हमारी लोगों के साथ? नहीं, सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है हम अपने आप से क्या कहते हैं. बिकॉज जनरली जब हम काम होते हैं, शांत होते हैं, तब हमारा दिमाग बोल रहा होता है, और तब हम अपने आप से क्या बात करते हैं वो हमारा एटीट्यूड डिसाइड करता है. तो हमेशा ये ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि वॉच योर थॉट्स, बिकॉज दैट विल बिकम योर एक्शन एंड दैट विल लीड टू योर रिजल्ट्स. सो ये चीज के लिए हम अपने आप से क्या बात कर रहे हैं, कैसे बात कर रहे हैं, वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. सो ऑलवेज हैव पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड. और पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड का मतलब ये नहीं है कि हाँ हाँ चलो सब अच्छा होगा करके बैठे रहना है. क्योंकि जनरली लोग ये मानते हैं कि यार पॉजिटिव सोचो, शुभ शुभ बोलो, लेकिन ये चीज एक्चुअली उसका डीप मीनिंग नहीं है. डीप सेंस ये है कि क्या हमें ऐसे ही पॉजिटिव रहना चाहिए. पॉजिटिव होने का मतलब क्या है कि हमें खुश रहना है. तो क्या बिना किसी रीजन खुश रहना है या कोई रीजन होना चाहिए. खुश रहना है लेकिन इट शुड बी बैक्ड बाय अ रीजन. इट शुड बी बैक्ड बाय एक्शन, नॉट रिजल्ट्स. क्योंकि हम खुश कैसे होते हैं, हम सोच रहे थे दिमाग में, हाँ मैं मुझे सीए करना है, मैं यहाँ प्रैक्टिस पे पहुंच गई हूँ, ठीक है 5 years बाद मेरा इतना इतना मेरा वर्थ होगा, ये मेरी कार होगी, सोच के बैठे खुश है. पर दैट विल नॉट वर्क. अगर हम एक्चुअल रियल पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड की तरफ जाए तो उस हिसाब से हम प्लान करेंगे. हम अपने आप को कहाँ देखते हैं, हम कहाँ पहुंचना चाहते हैं, और उस हिसाब से हम एक्शंस ले रहे हैं. और फिर विदाउट बीइंग फेलियर का फियर हुए किए बिना हम आगे बढ़ते हैं. तो दैट वुड बी राइट एटीट्यूड. सो हमें हमेशा एटीट्यूड शुड बी बेस्ड ऑन एक्शन, नॉट द रिजल्ट. नेक्स्ट प्लीज. सो हमेशा हमें ये ऐसा नहीं है कि हमें इजी वे लेके निकल जाना है, शॉर्टकट लेके.
Is it visible?
यस मैम, इट इज विजिबल. पॉज लेना भी जरूरी है, क्योंकि कभी कभी हमें लगता है कि आंसर मिल, जैसे उबलता हुआ पानी है उसमें हम अपना फेस अगर देखने जाएंगे नदी में या कुछ एकदम से बॉइलिंग वाटर में, तो नहीं पता चलेगा क्या है. लेकिन व्हेन इट कम्स टू द काम डाउन लेवल, शांत होगा तो शांत पानी में हमें आराम से सब कुछ दिखेगा. सो फॉर दैट कभी कभी हमें अपने दिमाग को शांत करने के लिए और क्या सही है वो करने के सोचने के लिए पॉज लेना जरूरी है. सो ये एटीट्यूड डेवलप करने के ये कुछ स्टेप्स है, जैसे कि मेडिटेशन है, हमें अफर्मेशंस कर सकते हैं जो बहुत ही कॉमन है और सबको पता होता है कि हाँ ये लिखना चाहिए, ऐसे अच्छी अच्छी 5 वाक्य लिखिए अपने बारे में. लेकिन इम्प्लीमेंट करने के बारे में हम सब लेजी हो जाते हैं या फिर बोलते हैं अच्छा ये कौन लिखेगा, छोड़ो ना. बट ट्रस्ट मी, जब हम अपने क्लटर दिमाग के सारे कचरे को बाहर निकाल देते हैं, ये सब कुछ साइड पे करके हम अपने काम पे फोकस करते हैं जो हमें चाहिए, उसके लिए ये सारे अगर रिवाइज, मूवमेंट, अफर्मेशंस ये सब हम करते हैं तो जो हम चाहते हैं वो पा सकते हैं. नेक्स्ट प्लीज. So this is a one simple question and it's a kind of game. We can go that let's each alphabet को हम एक number दे दे अगर 1 2 3 4 5 6 like that till 26. Next please. So skills is equal to, ये हम बाद में खुद प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं घर पे. स्किल्स का 82% होता है. नेक्स्ट. नॉलेज 96% होता है. एंड देन हार्ड वर्क 98%. पर सवाल ये आता है तो 100% क्या होता है. सो टू द सरप्राइज द 100% इज प्लीज एटीट्यूड. एक्चुअली ये हम काउंट करके देखें तो एटीट्यूड के लेटर्स का समेशन करने से हमें 100% मिलता है. तो ये तो अल्फाबेटिकल, ये जस्ट काइंड ऑफ गेम कह लो, लेकिन ये भी ऐसा बता रहा है कि हाँ एटीट्यूड मैटर्स अ लॉट. सो ऑलवेज हैव पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड और हमेशा अप्रिशिएट करना सीखे, क्योंकि हम अपने आप को ही डिस्काउंट बहुत करते कि अरे हाँ यार किसी ने तारीफ कर ली, नहीं नहीं ये तो ठीक है मैंने ऐसे ही कर दिया. पर क्यों, किसी ने अगर हमें कॉम्प्लीमेंट दिया है तो टेक इट एज विथ ग्रेस. एंड हम भी सामने किसी को नेगेटिव बोले उससे अच्छा पॉजिटिव क्या है वो बात उसको अप्रिशिएट करे तो शायद आगे के उसके एक्शंस और पॉजिटिव होंगे. नेक्स्ट प्लीज. सो द कैन डू एटीट्यूड मैटर्स, पर इट डजंट मीन कि हमेशा कैन डू करके कुछ भी करते जाओ. क्योंकि जो जैसे हमारे वो कंडीशंस अप्लाई आते हैं, वैसे ये यू कैन डू एवरीथिंग की भी कुछ कंडीशंस है। जैसे यू कैन डू एवरीथिंग, बट ऐसा नहीं कि एक ही धड़ाके से सब अभी से हो जाए। और अगर आपके लिए ये चीज करना इंपॉर्टेंट है, यू कैन एक्चुअली डू दिस। पर हमेशा परफेक्ट होना जरूरी नहीं है, कभी कभी काम कंप्लीट करके आगे बढ़ना, नेक्स्ट लेवल पे जाना भी जरूरी होता है। लिमिटेशंस कई जगह होती है, तो हमें हेल्प की भी रिक्वायरमेंट होती है। जैसे आज मेरी लिमिटेशंस हो गई थी, तो आई रिक्वायर्ड हेल्प ऑफ निकिता मैम, एंड आई जस्ट निकिता मैम हैज डन ग्रेट जॉब, थैंक यू सो मच। और मेरा ये काम हो गया, तो ये अच्छे से प्रेजेंटेशन में दे पाई। तो वी कैन डू एनीथिंग, बट राइट अप्रोच एंड राइट एटीट्यूड, वो हमें हमारी मंजिल तक ले जाता है। नेक्स्ट प्लीज। So the most significant change in a person's life is a change of attitude. Right attitude produces right actions. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you, CA ma'am, for such a wonderful session. And we really loved your all the videos, especially that 90/10 video. So one question is how to deal with the comparison thing, like when we compare ourselves with the other people of our same batch people. So how to
Yes.
deal with that?
Actually, if you allow me, I have one more video, but I don't know how to show. That is like हमने कई बार देखा है कि कंपैरिजन तो ऐसी चीज है कि हमें लगता है कि हमारा भी अच्छा होना चाहिए, इसका ही ऐसा हो गया रिजल्ट। लेकिन क्वेश्चन पेपर लाइफ के हर एक के अलग होते हैं। जब क्वेश्चन पेपर ही सेम नहीं है, तो हम आंसर क्यों सेम एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे? और कभी हम गलत यहाँ हो जाते हैं कि हम आंट को देखते हैं और बोलते हैं ये कितना ज्यादा वेट उठा रहा है, या फिर हम देखते हैं ये बर्ड कितने अच्छे से फ्लाई करता है, और फिर साथ में उसकी कंपैरिजन हम कर देते हैं चींटी से। So both have different abilities, both have different characteristics. तो कंपैरिजन तो जनरली करना नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि हमें अपने आप से ही कम्पीट करना, दैट इज वन वे ऑफ लुकिंग दिस। और कई जगह देखा है कि लोग, जैसे हम बोलते हैं कि यार मैं सीए बनने में, मैंने तो 23 साल में सीए बन गए, कोई बोलते हैं अरे यार मेरी तो 4 अटेम्प्ट्स लगी। पर वो जो 23 साल में बना हुआ है सीए, उसको हम कभी देखते हैं अरे क्या कर रहे हो, पता नहीं अभी कुछ जॉब ढूंढ रहा हूँ। और जबकि जो 4 अटेम्प्ट के बाद भी लगे हैं, बट दे आर हैविंग नाइस प्रैक्टिस और नाइस पैकेज भी होता है। वैसे ही शादी में देख लीजिए, कई जगह लगता है कि यार इसकी शादी नहीं हुई है, यार अब तो क्या है, अभी तो बड़े हो रहे हैं, घर पे सब सुना रहे हैं। पर जब वो एक्चुअल में उसको राइट पर्सन मिलते हैं, तो वो अपनी लाइफ में सेट होते हैं। और कभी कभी बोलते हैं
One more question.
yes,
We
yes.
have one more question. Tell something about CA Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. So
Sorry?
we have Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. Sarva
Yes,
Shiksha
yes.
Abhiyan.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So what you are doing means we have heard your description, your profile.
Yes,
So
ma'am,
can you
it
brief
is
us about it?
Yes, ma'am. It is the movement which is मतलब सूरत में हमने ये स्टार्ट किया है कि जो सुमन स्कूल है, म्यूनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशंस की स्कूल्स है, तो उसमें जाके अपने चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स लेक्चर्स देते हैं अकाउंट्स के बारे में, उनको करियर गाइडेंस देते हैं। जो पहले यहाँ पे ऐसा था, सूरत म्यूनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन में खाली 10th तक ही स्कूल थी, फिर उसके बाद पढ़ना हो बच्चों को तो प्राइवेट स्कूल में जाना जरूरी था। तो 11th और 12th में अभी ये स्टार्ट हुआ है। तो 11th 12th जो सरकारी स्कूल में स्टार्ट हुआ है, तो वहां जाके हमारे चार्टर्ड लेक्चर्स देते हैं, उनको करियर गाइडेंस देते हैं विदाउट एनी फीस चार्जिंग, ऑनरेटेड बेस पे। सो ये हम करते हैं यहाँ से।
Beautiful work you are doing for upliftment of modest people and for the society. So thank you so much, Kanjal ma'am, for this wonderful session and for a wonderful guidance for all the people. I hope all our participants are benefited by this. I would like
Thank you.
to thank CA Preeti Salva ma'am, chairperson, and CA Abhay Chadar sir, vice chairperson of Women and Young Members Excellence Committee, for providing me with the opportunity to be a coordinator of this webinar. I would like to thank all the participants and all the speakers and all the moderators for the active participation throughout this webinar. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to request technical team to kindly conclude and close the session. Thank you so much.